America just lost its last AAA credit rating. Not one of them, the last one. After 100 years of being the world's most trusted borrower, Moody said, not anymore. That rating is not a trophy on a shelf. It is the price tag on every dollar America borrows, and on everything priced against it. 6 days after that downgrade, Congress passed the One Big Beautiful Bill, adding $4.7 trillion more to the debt that was just told it isn't safe anymore. By the end of this video, you will know exactly who actually pays. And the answer is not American taxpayers. You're watching Voice on Pages, where capital logic replaces capital noise. Subscribe if you think in systems. So, on May 16, 2025, Moody's officially dropped America's rating from AAA down to AA1. They basically finished the job S&P started back in 2011, and Fitch kept going in 2023. Think about that for a second. The asset class everyone assumed was the absolute safest in the world carries a totally different risk profile right now. We really have to rethink everything we know about global debt. And literally just 6 days later, the House passed a bill adding another $4.7 trillion to the deficit over the next 10 years. Oh, and in one swift motion, they hiked the debt limit by $5 trillion. They massively expanded the supply of debt right when the quality of that very debt got a formal downgrade. Now, what does this bill actually buy? Permanent tax cuts, zero taxes on tips or overtime, a massive defense budget, and that Golden Dome missile system. Imagine a bank slashing your credit score because you hold too much debt. Then, 6 days later, you just casually stroll back in, apply for a $5 trillion loan, and buy a luxury car. That is the United States government in May 2025. They spend like the downgrade never even happened. Look, these two events are not a coincidence. They are a deliberate policy, and that specific distinction means absolutely everything for your money. You watch a coordinated choice to prioritize expansion over stability. And trust me, global markets take notes. The history here gives us a fascinating contrast. Back in 2011, when S&P cut the rating, global capital actually rushed right into U.S. bonds. It remained the safest option on the board, so yields fell. But that old playbook, it lies completely broken right now. We deal with a totally different era for your portfolio. Check this out. The 30-year Treasury yield spiked over 5.2% in May 2026. That hits its highest level since 2007. Instead of rushing in for safety, investors bolted for the exits. When the main anchor of the entire financial world starts drifting, the ripples hit every single asset class out there. If you think this is only America's problem, listen up. This exact moment is where your money enters the story. You pay the price when global financial anchors drag. Your local borrowing costs, your currency, your inflation, they all tie back directly to this exact shift. Take Japan. They sit as the largest foreign holder, holding $1.19 trillion in U.S. Treasuries. But you must watch their actions, not their historical loyalty. They aggressively dumped $47.7 billion of that debt in March 2026 alone. The absolute biggest customer actively walks away from the counter. And then there's China, executing an even more massive structural exit. They dropped their total holdings to just $652 billion. Over 15 years, their market share shrank from a massive 28% down to just 7%. They systematically unwound their exposure to U.S. debt. We mapped this exact mechanism in our past breakdowns on Treasury auctions and BlackRock. When the largest buyers reduce their holdings while supply absolutely explodes, prices fall and yields rise. It relies on simple arithmetic, not an opinion. Capital doesn't follow safety. It follows logic over loyalty. India understands this math perfectly. Sitting right around the 15th largest holder with about $180 to $190 billion in treasuries, they didn't wait around. They proactively slashed their holdings by 21% in 2025, before this latest downgrade even hit. They managed their risk in real time. These mechanics hit your wallet directly. Rising U.S. yields inflict immediate paper losses on India's remaining assets. That pressure squeezes the rupee and forces Indian local borrowing costs significantly higher. A downgrade in Washington literally creates more expensive mortgages in Mumbai. We actually built a free tool, the Signal Analyzer, to map these exact ripple effects. You just paste any mainstream financial headline into it, and the tool decodes the structural reality hidden inside all that noise. Find the link in the description below. Get to the immediate winners to protect your wealth.
Gold already climbed 23% year-to-date by May 2025. And the day this downgrade news broke, it instantly spiked another 1.5% in the US and 1,600 rupees in India. The speed of the market reaction looked absolutely breathtaking.
Smart money prepared for this decades ago. Look at how European nations brilliantly hoarded gold. Germany holds 84% of its reserves in gold. France holds nearly 82%, and Italy sits right at 80.6%. They saw the writing on the wall. Decades of preparation culminate in this precise moment.
India mirrors this exact same strategic logic. They quietly accumulated 880 tons of gold, bringing it to 18.5% of their total reserves. They actively replace depreciating U.S. paper with hard, undeniable assets. It creates a quiet revolution in sovereign wealth.
Here is what almost no one connects, and it completely changes how you read every headline for the next 12 months. The trade war we covered deepened the exact deficits Moody's cited. These represent two separate chapters, but they combine into one cohesive story you absolutely must understand. We watched this movie before. Back in 1971, Nixon closed the gold window and triggered an entire decade of intense dollar weakness. The system required brutal 20% interest rates to finally rebuild credibility. You really have to feel the historical weight of what that cost ordinary citizens.
America assumes the world will always hold dollars, while Japan, China, and that 5.2% yield answer that assumption right now in real time. The market delivers a harsh verdict, and frankly, it does not care about historical prestige. So, who actually pays for this debt? Every single country holding U.S. debt pays. Every central bank relying on downgraded benchmarks pays. Every emerging market losing its risk-free rate pays the actual price. The system exports the cost directly to the rest of the world. The exact 10-chapter method we use to read this massive geopolitical shift sits ready for you. You find it in the Signal Extraction Method Guide linked below. Use it to map your future moves and stay ahead of the next structural break.
Because in the end, capital doesn't have loyalty. It has logic.